Hey, it's Verity from the creative team and welcome back to the WowEmbossingPowder YouTube channel. Have you got lots of glitter stashed in your craft supply but are unsure how to use it? Then this is the video for you. I've got 3 techniques of using glitter, whether it's using up what you have or using biodegradable glitter to make your card sparkle. So let's get started. This first technique is the most simple technique out of the 3. We are going to use double-sided adhesive to adhere the glitter down. So I have a piece of white cardstock here and I'm adhering some thick, wide width double-sided adhesive tape down. And I'm just placing the die over the top just to ensure that I make sure the area I create is big enough to die cut from. Now I've got a large enough area, I'm just removing the backing to the double-sided adhesive to expose that sticky surface. The glitter I am using on this card is biodegradable glitter from Wow. This is their Earth Sparkle range and the colour I'm using is Stingray. As the adhesive is sticky, we can sprinkle the glitter over this and then the glitter will stick to the tape. After I've given this a really good covering, I'm placing the cardstock in between 2 pieces of scrap paper. Next, I'm using my bone folder and I'm just burnishing the glitter down into the adhesive tape. This will help reduce any shed of the glitter on your card project because you're really pushing that glitter down into the adhesive. So now we've got a panel we can die cut from and we will get a glitter die cut. So here I'm die cutting the circle stripe die from Catherine Pooler Designs. Because I use quite a lightweight card to create this glitter cardstock, the die cut really pops out quite easily from the die. And I haven't got any glitter left inside because we really burnished the glitter into that tape. Okay, so let's move on to the second technique and I'll show you how we assemble the cards later on. For the second technique, we are going to use bonding powder with glitter. Now this is great if you have a coloured glitter that you really love but you can't find an embossing glitter in that shade. I'm going to stamp the spotted background stamp from Catherine Pooler Designs onto a white card panel. To make sure I get this centered within the background of the stamp, I'm positioning the card panel onto the background stamp, applying some repositionable tape onto the back of the card panel, and I'm also adhering a temporary handle. So later on, when I'm adding the powder and heat embossing, I can actually hold the card panel. So now I'm just closing my MISTI in reverse, and then I'm flipping it over, pressing down to ensure that card panel adheres to the back of my MISTI temporarily. This allows me to restamp in the same position to ensure I get plenty of ink on my card panel and my card panel won't move. So I'm using Wow Clear Ultra Slow Drying Embossing ink and I've inked the background stamp up, closing my MISTI door just to stamp the design down. Now once I've done this a couple of times to ensure I get good coverage of ink, I'm then covering this with bonding powder. So bonding powder when heat set looks like clear gloss. However, when it's heat set, it is tacky to touch for about 10 to 20 seconds afterwards. As this is tacky, we can adhere the glitter to it. So the glitter I'm using here is Crushed Ice Sparkles, which is a glitter inspired by Catherine Pooler Designs. Now I've started off heat setting the whole background panel to melt all of the powder. This is perfectly fine. However, you have to bear in mind how quickly you can add your glitter to how long the powder will stay tacky, and I wasn't that quick. So I'm adding the glitter and then I'm going back in with my heat gun, reheating the bonding powder to make it tacky again. So then I can continue to add more glitter to get a really lovely strong colour of glitter. In addition, I'm also reheating the bonding powder once the glitter's on to ensure that the glitter really gets into the melted bonding powder. This will help reduce any glitter shed from your project. Now you may be thinking that this looks a hot mess because there is a lot of glitter on the whole of the panel, not just on the stamp design. But don't worry, it's easy to fix this with a brush. Now I'm just using a brush that I use just with glitter, so I don't mind getting glitter on this brush. And then I'm really using the brush to brush away all the excess glitter that's not sitting on the bonding powder. Obviously do this once the bonding powder has cooled down, otherwise your brush might get stuck. Now you can be quite rough with this because you want to get the glitter off, so you don't need to be gentle, and you don't need to worry because you're not going to be removing any glitter that's attached to the bonding powder. You can also go in with a sand eraser just to remove any excess pieces of glitter that are really not budging with your brush. So this will give you a lovely glitter stamped background in a colour that you may not have in an embossing glitter, but do have in glitter. Okay, so for the last technique, we are going to use embossing paste with glitter. So I have the Deco Fan Catherine Pooler stencil here, and I'm adhering it down to a white card panel. This card panel is £110 cardstock, and I've used this weight because the embossing paste will add moisture to it, and we want a heavyweight cardstock to reduce warping from that. I've placed some purple tape either side of my panel to adhere the stencil down, and then I'm using a spatula to apply Altenew embossing paste over the stencil. As this is a delicate stencil, I'm just being gentle as I apply the paste, because I don't want to allow the paste to squidge underneath the stencil. Okay, so I've applied enough embossing paste to the card panel, so I'm removing the stencil, and then just make sure you either clean your stencil and spatula then, or put them in a tub of water to soak, otherwise the embossing paste will dry on them. As the embossing paste is currently tacky and wet, we can apply glitter onto it. As the paste dries, the glitter dries into the embossing paste and won't shed. So the glitter I'm using here is the Seahorse Sparkles glitter, and this is a lovely soft green teal colour. Make sure you cover your embossing paste quite liberally with the glitter and cover any spaces or spots up. And once you've done this, what I like to do is take a paintbrush and tap the back of my card quite liberally. This will cause any loose pieces of glitter to fall off, and that means that later on you're not going to get glitter shedding from your card. You need to put this to one side to dry before you can actually assemble this into a card. Okay, so for the first card, I'm adding some stamped images to the glitter die cut we created. I'm using the Sentimental Fruit stamp and die set from Catherine Pooler, and I'm using the oranges from the stamp set. I am inking these up with Tiki Torch Catherine Pooler ink, but I want to add a little bit more interest to the stamped image. It would be quite flat in one colour. So to do this, I'm then going in with the aptly named Orange Twist Catherine Pooler ink, and I'm just adding this around the edge of the stamp. But before I stamp this down, I'm using a blending sponge just to soften up the ink edges so that it doesn't get a harsh line when you stamp. So I'm closing my misty door and then stamping this down, and the inks will blend on the cardstock as well. And this gives you some shading to your stamped images and gives it a little bit more interest. So I die cut these oranges out using the coordinating dies, and I also stamped the blueberries from the stamp set. These are stamped in a Queen for a Day Catherine Pooler ink. To add a little bit more interest, I'm foam mounting the glitter die cut onto a piece of white cardstock, and then I'm adding the stamped images on top. Again, I'm adding some with foam, some directly onto the glitter cardstock, just to get some dimension. As the stamp has a sentiment already in it, all I needed to do to finish this card off was add some sequins. These orange sequins come from the sequin mix from Lucy's Cards. This was called the Desert Sunset Mix, and I'm using Gina K Connect Glue to adhere them down, scattering them around the card. For the glitter bonding powder background we created, I've added it to a white card base, and then I'm adhering some leaf die cuts down. These are the Perfect Vines from Catherine Pooler Designs, and I've die cut them out of 2 tones of grey cardstock. Now I chose grey because the background's quite colourful and I don't want to distract too much by adding another colour that might fight against the background, so neutrals work quite well. I've also added a couple of sentiments from the Altenew stamp set Reason to Smile, and these were stamped in Blackjack Catherine Pooler ink, trimming them down to adhere onto the front of the card. Now, because we've got such a colourful and glittery sparkly background, I decided just to add some matte silver sequins. These help tie in with the colour of the die cuts, and also the circle nature of the background, but they don't distract by adding too much extra shine. So these are the silver matte sequins from Lucy's cards. For the last card, I've just adhered the background down onto a white card panel. Because we've got so much intricacy in the beautiful design of the stencil, and with all that glitter, I kept the card quite simple. So I'm using the Love word die from Catherine Pooler Designs, having die cut this 3 times out of black cardstock to layer up for some more definition. This was then adhered to the front of the card using liquid glue, and to ensure it adheres well, I've placed something over the top whilst it dries. I'm also adding a heat embossed sentiment. This comes from the Altenew Sentiment Strips 2 stamp set, and it read "With all my love." I just didn't heat emboss the word love because we got that with the die cut. This was foam mounted onto the front of the card panel, and then to finish the card off, I've added some starlight sequins from Lucy's cards, scattering them around the card, again adhering with liquid adhesive. There are so many fun ways you can use glitter in your paper crafting projects, and I hope these 3 ways show you just how easy it can be. There are some beautiful glitters out there to use. This is a great way to use glitter up in your stash, and there's a whole range of biodegradable glitters from WOW called Sparkles. So if you're wanting to use glitter more often but also be more eco-friendly, then this is the range for you. If you would like to check out my personal channel, Pretty Little Button, I've included a link here as well as down below. Links to the supplies used in today's card are listed below as well as on the blog. For a 10% discount at the shop, just enter the code you can see on screen. If you enjoyed today's video, please give it a thumbs up, and why not subscribe to the channel? Don't forget to hit that bell icon to be notified when the next video is up. And why not check out this other video for some more inspiration. Until next time, happy crafting!